August 20. I'm sorry, August 2024, 9 a.m. Before we do the roll call, you notice the chair made it to the meeting on time today. And the reason for that is perhaps why I wanted to give the floor to the new city manager, if you want to say something to us.
Do I call roll or?
No, after.
Today's day 2, so still learning and looking forward to working with everybody from here on out.
Welcome, Chris.
Same here. Well,
Right.
thank you.
Okay, now you can call the roll.
Okay, Oscar Robinson,
Here.
Mike Davidson,
Here.
Steve Davis,
Here.
Tom Dewitt,
Here.
Preston Elkins.
Here.
Okay. I mean, we have a quorum if we got any actions. Approve of minutes of the last meeting, 18, the 8th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We had her motion approved. Anyone against? None. Motion so passed. Discussion item, no water could be next. Video, Oscar Robertson, chair. This video came to me from a citizen named Otis Davis, who's a real estate landlord in the city, and he thought maybe we should look at it. And because he's very concerned about the issues that is in the video, and that we as a body, community should have a different discussion about our water problem in this community. So I asked TJ to get it and look at it and review it. And so I guess he put it on the agenda. Okay,
Isn't that what you wanted me to do, sir?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, we ready?
The
Ready?
challenge that we have today is when I have a senior citizen call me and tell me she's peeing in his backyard because her water bill and her sewer bill doubled. And no one cares about that anymore.
Across the country, private companies are swooping in to buy water and sewer systems from local governments that own. The result for customers, skyrocketing bills more than double what they used to be at a time when inflation is hitting Americans' wallets hard.
The motive for investor-owned utilities is profits, revenue, and that's what matters. It's not water quality, it's not reliability, it's not whether the customers are happy, it's not your neighbor, it's just a money making machine.
They present their efforts as a win-win scenario to save taxpayers money and local governments from financial ruin.
What really that is just a bait and switch technique. They promise the world and they deliver pain to the customers who have the bill into perpetuity.
And over the past decade, investor-owned corporations have successfully lobbied many state governments, like Pennsylvania, to make it easier and more attractive for local governments to stay. And when those companies come knocking in their town, many people don't know what's happening until it's too late.
It generally isn't done in broad daylight. Nobody's supporting.
This is a story about the over takeover of one of our most important national resources. The consequences for communities, one unlikely coalition of people are fighting to keep water public and affordable. In 2020, the township of New Garden, Pennsylvania, sold their sewer system to Aqua Pennsylvania for nearly $30 million. Aqua Pennsylvania is a subsidiary of Essential Utilities, a publicly traded corporation that had more than $2 billion in revenue in 2023.
They basically came in and said, New Garden, we can give you the money, we can do your whatever project you want to do with it. We'll take over your sewer system, we'll run it better than you have run it. And this will be basically a seamless transaction. There was very little in the way of hearings, very few people who knew about it. And quite frankly, very few people were even thinking about it.
We were told that it was a great deal because it was a rate freeze or a limit on how much the rates would go up after the rate freeze. That rate cap and growth rate was later eliminated for the sale.
Everything looked about the same for maybe about 6 months to a year. But all of a sudden, the rates went up, they started to double and triple, and when people started to see the bills, they basically started to call Aqua and say, why is my bill so high?
My June 2022 bill for 13,000 gallons was $234.27. My very next bill, this was when the rent came at 9%. I used 1,000 gallons left, 12,000 gallons. And the bill was $413.23. You call Aqua, the customer service line, they can't help you, they don't know what's going on. People feel frustrated, but nobody is taking responsibility.
So why are we so interested in buying water and sewer systems now? In recent years, more and more states have passed industry-backed laws encouraging these sales. These are called fair market value laws, and in Pennsylvania, they passed one in 2016 known as Act.
For a long time, we've had concerns about small water systems in terms of their capacity to be compliant with all appropriate environmental and other regulations. So that became one of the rationales to try to stimulate the market for selling a water system and its assets to a provider that could perhaps bring expertise and capacity to managing that system.
Act 12 created a process by which more factors of income, expected repairs, and future revenue are included in the value of the system. This usually results in a higher sale price.
As high as $1 billion was offered to Bucks County, for example.
In the case of New Garden, the amount offered was 6 times their annual budget. And they see this as, oh, it's wonderful.
However, what happens is, who pays for that? Who pays for that are the ratepayers. They get to recoup those costs, and they're recouping significant costs.
Big water companies are making their money back more quickly by charging more for the service. And private systems are generally more expensive. A 2016 study of water rates in the US's 500 largest water systems found that people with private systems paid nearly 60% more for water. In Pennsylvania, it was 84%, adding to more than $300 per year on average.
You don't really think about it until your system has been privatized and you get a bill that's twice what it was last time.
One of the tactics that they use is basically to say that the infrastructure that we have is very poor. If they took over, then they would do a better job managing infrastructure.
If the purpose of Act 12 is to help failing systems, that hasn't happened in practice. Let me also be clear, none of the acquisitions so far have met a criteria or threshold of being troubled systems under the public utility code. So far, there have been 21 systems brought under Act 12. The industry's top trade group encourages local officials to sell electricity systems.
They want to get well-run systems because it means that there's less money they have to put into it.
That's currently one of the biggest water systems in the Philadelphia area, known as the Chester Water Authority, or CETA. It's trying to buy the water authority in the city of Chester, which declared bankruptcy in 2022 for $410 million. The board of the CWA says Chester doesn't have the right to sell it. Most of the utility's customers don't even live in the city, but the surrounding areas.
We've been operating quite successfully, quite reliably. We are an award-winning authority. Best tasting water in Pennsylvania.
For local officials, selling a utility provides a revenue boost that can be used to pay down debts and invest in other services. Then residents don't hear the full story.
The townships are failing their constituents in how they analyze it. That they see this sum of money and they have, oh, it's wonderful, it's free, except it's
And once the local government sells their water or sewer system, the high cost and limited local government budgets mean it's almost impossible to buy back control of the system.
I have not heard anything about why Act 12 was necessary. It appears that it was lobbying for by Big Water. Big Water has a very effective lobby going on.
As long as the completed Act 12 in 2015 and 2016, Aqua spent over $500,000 lobbying the Pennsylvania legislature.
There's a lot of work that occurs to grease the skid, so to speak, talking to politicians, attending board meetings, presenting misinformation about what would happen if a company like Aqua comes in and takes over, and they try to garner favor through various means.
Investor-owned utilities have gained enormous political power in Pennsylvania over the last several decades. Mike Forsyth, Speaker of the Pennsylvania House when Act 12 was passed. The same year he retired from the legislature, he became the general counsel for the natural gas division of Essential Utilities, the corporation that owns Aqua. The industry's top trade, the National Association of Water Companies, is run by Robert F. Powelson, a former Trump appointee and member of the Pennsylvania Public Utilities Commission. And the current chair, Steve DeFrank, was a lobbyist for Pennsylvania American Water, and resigned that job only a day after he was nominated for the commission. Over the past 3 years, Essential Utilities has donated nearly $175,000 to candidates across the country, including Pennsylvania, and they're lobbying against repeal or extensive reforms to Act 12.
I believe the changes to undo Act 12 benefits should carefully be considered. Anything to undo those benefits would result in systems like the ones we purchased, or those that may still remain, to continue to fail in their service.
Frustrated by their high sewer bills, Bill and some of his neighbors started a group called Keep Water Affordable. And they testified at hearings and talked to people in other Pennsylvania towns about their experience.
If people fully understood the option open to them, I don't think there would be anywhere near the number of privatizations that is on now.
Local opposition in Bucks County completed a $1 billion deal to sell one of the largest sewer systems in the state to Aqua. In Tallahassee, residents changed their town charter to try to stop the sale of the sewer system. Some state political leaders are also calling for changes to the system.
What we oppose is privatization for its own sake, and privatization and consolidation at any cost or regardless of the cost to consumers.
The Pennsylvania legislature is debating a set of bills that supporters hope will reduce the number of healthy systems being bought and stop costly rate hikes on consumers. The Public Utility Commission is also considering reforms, but some say those moves don't go far enough.
I believe much of what we're doing today is because of the potential transfer of the Chesapeake Water Authority to Aqua. Would these bills stop that transaction?
I don't believe it would. I think we should repeal Act 12, and I have introduced legislation to do just that.
The other changes that would not different would be a much more open system communication during the sale process and requiring a ratepayer referendum to approve.
The Chester Water Authority case is now tied up in the courts. Its story could be a cautionary tale for people around the country about laws like Act 12 and corporate takeovers of public systems.
The message I think that I would like to give to ratepayers where there is talk of a takeover or a purchase of their public utility system by an investor-owned utility. Don't believe what they're saying. It's a bait and switch game, and your rates are gonna skyrocket.
Thank you so much for watching our video. If you'd like to see more stories like this one, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to get more information in your feed. And again,
Thank you, TJ, for bringing that to us. Mr. Davis, I invited him to come to the meeting, but obviously he didn't show up. But the discussion on this, as chair, I've been doing action research, and I took the liberty to start an action research talking about privatizing our water system, since the momentum is going that way. And my research so far have led me to talk to a few communities in New Mexico. One of them is the city of Rio. They themselves in the debate about whether they should remain as a leaving their water system in a private system. Edgewood, New Mexico is another city that if anybody want to talk to them people in those communities, I would suggest you do. My action research is showing that these people are not very satisfied with the effort of privatization of their water. But that's my own my research, and I would invite anybody else to do their own research and present, because there've been a lot of positions been presented by one side of the community, and then there haven't been much about this side of the community. So I have taken the liberty to I will present the paper when I finish my research. But my hypothesis is that we should not privatize our water. And that's what I'm trying to prove. Yes.
Oscar, so I agree with you. I've done some research as well. And so here's some numbers that I received for a rate increase that it's very similar to what they were talking about. Year one, you use 10,000 gallons, you're at $100. Year two, you're at $150. Year three, you're at $225. Year four, you're at $337. Year five, you're at $405. Year six, you're at $486. That is 50%, 50%, 50%, 20%, 20%. Does that sound outrageous to you for rate increases?
I don't-
50% a year
Yeah.
in rate increase. So year one, you're paying $100. Year two, you're paying $150. That was our proposal that we were given 3 months ago from our internal cost of service study, from what it would take for us to raise that. So when you say privatization is going to raise our rates, we're doing it just as bad as any. Now, I'm not done. I'm not done.
Okay.
The issue with that is when a municipality runs the utility, statute governs it. That means that we as the city council get to say, let's go up 50%, and it's done. Whereas a private entity comes in, they are governed by the PRC, the Public Regulations Committee. Any rate increase has to be submitted to the PRC. And then your ratepayers can file a protest on that rate. And it only takes 1% of the rate class, not the full population, just the rate class, for that to be looked into, and then they can throw out that rate increase. A city, we have no leg to stand on. We cannot protest our rates. If the city says, hey, we're going up 50%, there's nothing you can do about it. If a private entity does that, they have to go before the state and defend their rates with a cost of service study. We as a city don't have to do that. We just get to say, hey, citizens, we're going up 50%, whether you like it or not, and whether it's even necessary or not, because that's just the way that municipalities operate. So that's some of my research that I've found working in the field that I do. And so that would just be my flip side of the coin. It doesn't matter if you're private or not. Rate increases are going to happen. But the good thing about privatization is we have a public regulations committee that helps the ratepayer.
I understand again, this is your opinion, this is your research. My research suggests that the city, my own opinion is that we're gonna lose out on state funding up to $800 million. And so, we won't have, I obviously, that I'm totally against privatizing our public utility. And there's no bone about that.
Mhm.
I'm not going to defend that. I believe that the reason I'm against it is that I think that we have an obligation to the community to bring this issue to the community. And if we, as a city council, the city council shouldn't make that decision themselves, but it should base on all of the research that is available, and then let the citizens decide whether or not we should privatize our water. I don't think 8 or 9 people should make that decision, and I would stand on that. I still believe we need to have a referendum, and I think that that's the issue. But let's have the issue have two sides of the discussion rather than one side.
Completely agree with you.
Okay,
Can I ask, didn't you send out a poll to the public?
I sent out a poll.
Well, you didn't. I think Chief did.
Chief did under my request.
And we received that back and 70% of our population wants it.
Well, that was based on that poll, the question that was asked. But let's put it to the referendum. That's the
You're-
issue.
Okay.
And you know, all you folks who want to privatize the water, that's your debate. My debate is put it to the people. I don't have one debate. Take it to the public. Let's have a referendum call and let the public decide whether or not we should privatize our water. And that's the issue. I don't have no other issue than that. If the public come back on a vote and say that they want us to privatize, then so be it. But I don't think 9 people should make that decision. And I would stand with that.
Can I take the floor? Okay.
First of all, I get your point. However, there are 8 people that were elected by the public, 2 people from each ward to make exactly those decisions. That's why we have counselors. But even if we put it to public vote, there's no fear with that. As Preston mentioned, 70% want privatization of water because the city of Portales has had at least 2 decades to take care of a water situation, and they have failed to do so. We are running out of the opportunity to make these decisions. So the next decision that is made, whether private or keeping it a public entity, is going to be probably the last decision that is going to be able to be made. And I think the general public doesn't trust the city to make the right decision based on past history. I do agree with you bringing this issue up. Having 2 sides of a discussion are excellent, but one of the major disagreements with that video would be, and I'm assuming we're talking about in general EPCOR here. EPCOR didn't come to us to privatize. We went to them. So it's not like they're down here and
Wait,
in all
Scoot, correction, who is we?
the city of Portales.
No, the city had a vote made by the city council to bring EPCO to come in and do a study,
That's right.
but that's all.
Okay. We
And-
went,
and we-
I'm not done.
Okay,
We,
clarify your statement. when you
okay,
say
we as in Water Advisory Group, Public Works, and the city council recommended to go to EPCOR and invite them to see what they could do for us as a city. EPCOR did not come to us, and they did not come to the city of Portales to try to take over their water situation. We asked them if they could help us or possibly help us. And in addition to that, there's nothing to say that EPCOR wants anything to do with us. We haven't heard that yet, but I agree with looking at all sides. But they're also talking about people that are having problems with privatized water. When we have an excellent reference 19 miles away, the citizens are not complaining. Their water rates are equal or less than our water rates are currently. And the fact is, whether we keep our own water or go to EPCOR or anybody, water rates are going up. And when Ute comes along, they're going to skyrocket. So water is going up inevitably. That's not something that you can just totally blame on privatized water. And as Preston said, privatized water is the only possibility the residents have of the rate increases being manageable. So, and 60 to 70% of dissatisfaction, that may be true with the areas that video surveyed or served, but that is definitely not true with our area. And you can talk to any residents in Clovis about their success with EPCOR. And that in general is who we have been talking about was EPCOR. So
Okay, you seem like you're a broken record. You continue
Huh?
to use the same issues, same statements that you presented in the newspaper and you're presenting here today. Weren't
the
here-
broken record feels this way.
Well, that's what this broken record feels.
That's
this way.
fine, but I
the
didn't
point
call you
is-
a broken record.
But I call you one.
That's
because
fine.
You're repeating redundancy.
Facts, I'm
Yeah.
repeating facts. I apologize for repeating facts.
Fail to do so. The water system in this community has not failed. And in other words, what has failed in the water system? Give me an example where our water department has failed to provide water to the service to the water.
In 2017, the city of Portales was given the same facts that Clovis was given regarding the shape of our aquifer and the needs for actions to be taken. Clovis immediately formed a water advisory group and started dealing with those actions, immediately started conservation. The city of Clovis right now is not on stage 2 restrictions. They have normal conservation. They can wash their cars. They can wash their sidewalks. Okay, do we have that situation? No, we're hanging on by a thread. Not done yet. Additionally, they have a 40-year supply of water longer than the city of Portales. Why? Because of our mismanagement of water. That's my broken record opinion. That is also shared by, obviously, 70% of the public.
And I still say that the city of Portales Water Department has not failed.
I didn't say the water
I said,
department.
That's who managed.
No. The
That's
city
managed-
council manages the water.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's your opinion.
Our city department cannot go out there and drill a new well. Our city department cannot control stage level restrictions. That is done by council. Make no mistake that I say the failures are in the leadership of this community. 20 years, we could have dealt with this situation. And additionally, anything that we do right now, anything could have been done 20 years ago, could have been done 10 years ago. Why wasn't it?
Like I said again, your side of the issue is a very valid issue. My side of the issue is a very valid issue. Let's take it to the public, have a vote, and if we get a 70% defeat rate, then so be it. But I don't think the 9 people on the city council.
There aren't 9 people
Well,
in the
it's
city
eight-
council.
it's 8 people and a mayor, and I know the population of the city council. And I think that we need to take it to the public and let the 7% vote against it.
Why did we not take it to the public
Well, because-
before we spent 27 million on a wastewater treatment plant that does not work?
Well.
I think that would have been far
Well,
more.
then let's
important.
take the issue to the public. And then not 2 or 3 people make an opinion. And then also, you gotta realize that the city council, this private citizen went to EPCOR prior to bringing the issue to the city council. Private citizen went to EPCOR and asked for them to come in and provide water. It was not a direction of the city to go to EPCOR. Private citizen went to EPCOR and invited them down to come to the community. And your company specifically was leader in that.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome, Mike. Oscar, I do want to preface this. You had originally had an issue with the way that it went about. And we said, we need to run it through the proper channels. We need to run it through the Water Advisory Committee because that's what they're there for. And then we need to run it through Public Works because that's what they're there for. And then it can go to council. We did that. We're following your process. They're not coming in and taking over our water system. Like Mr. Davidson said, they're doing a study on our water system to see what they can do. They could come in and say, guys, you're running out of water by 2027 and we can't do anything to help you. Have a good day. And that may be the case. We don't know yet. We're in the very early stages. We've gone through the right process, and you're absolutely right. A private citizen did go to them because the city council wasn't taking care of us.
But see,
We weren't.
But Mr. Davidson's discussion was that how come we didn't do that? The city didn't do that. It was based on 1 or 2 people going and you guys formed a committee to study the water rates. And then you guys started the discussion that we should have EPCOR and to come down here, and they came to the city council and they made a presentation
Mhm.
based on a review of 3 or 4 citizens of the community, which is good. We need the transparency, but to make a decision that the city has failed is totally out of bounds, because the city has had Charlie Wilson, engineer, to make recommendation. We had a conservation plan presented and we followed that plan.
No, we didn't.
No, you didn't.
Well.
No, we didn't.
Let me finish. Dr. Wilson said we followed the plan. It's in writing. And we didn't follow it.
They said we
It wasn't-
haven't been
it wasn't
following the
based
plan.
on- It wasn't based on the city council, based on the staff. If they didn't follow the plan, then so be it.
That's not true. Number one, Charlie Wilson said you need to reduce your consumption from 900 million to 700 million gallons a year. That failed in 1920, 1921, 1922, and we're unsure of
2020.
23. But at any rate, that's 3 years that failed, okay? That was not the city's fault. That was not the water department's fault. Whose fault was that? That's
Drought.
the,
It was a drought fault. And we had 7 years drought.
then, well, okay.
So it was natural.
Let me not pass judgment on the leaders. Let me say this. It's obviously not true that we followed Charlie Wilson's recommendations, because that's one example of doing exactly not that. So, I mean, there's no question.
Have you talked to Dr. Wilson?
No,
Then how can you make that statement?
Because we've
Because I
read
read
his
his
reports.
report.
We've read his
Have you-
150 page.
Have you talked to him?
no, sir.
Okay, then I would suggest we bring Dr. Wilson down.
Again,
Yes.
we've spent $80,000 a year
yes,
every
again,
year
we-
to not listen
and
to
we,
it.
no, we're gonna bring him down again.
So we're gonna waste another $80,000 because one person, because one,
$80,000, Dr. Wilson would not come down here for no $80,000.
we've seen the
Can,
charges. Oscar,
city manager, can you invite Dr. Wilson to our next Public Works Committee meeting?
We are in the procurement process for him to do his annual
Annual, when is that?
study.
Come through?
Chris, do you have any
to get, the 21st is when we'll get our other two
quotes?
quotes.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to table this discussion to Dr. Wilson come down since I'm on that point.
We do have 2 other reports too.
Okay.
2 other. Hey,
Now,
Oscar.
Tom, this would-
Could I ask a couple questions before
Yeah.
you table everything?
Yeah, you too.
So I've been told here recently that I ride the fence, but I just try to be pragmatic. I try to look at both sides. First side, this video we just watched, I never seen an opposing view from Aqua. They never got their voice in there. We just heard one side of a conversation. So I don't know the validity of.
You say you heard one side of the other side of the discussion was, if you read the newspaper article presented by Michael Davison is one. side of the argument.
No, sir. I'm
Okay.
talking about the video we just watched.
Okay,
We watched a one-sided view of a guy in a T-shirt that compiled all this stuff, but we never heard from the company that they were charging, that they were saying was doing all this bad stuff.
oh, I see. what you're
And
saying.
they said it was only one company. So is this
Yeah.
is this an industry-wide problem, or is it just Aqua? So I got that. As far as the getting the pulse of the city, on both sides on that one too. That was a non-scientific survey that we did.
Well, and I'll be glad to speak to that if y'all would
Yeah.
like me to.
And to go with that, though, I'd like to ask, if you wanted to do a referendum on it, exactly what would the process be and how quickly could we get that done? And I don't guess I need an answer really, so, but how would we reach out to the people? Do we do it on election day? How do we do it? I mean,
You would have to have a formal election filed.
okay,
And the formal election would have to be filed with the state, and the city would have to pay for the election. And the issue is, that if what we got going here right now, we got a momentum saying we want to bring in a company, not a particular company, which we would have to put out a RFP to decide which company would like to come in. And we also have to put issues, have an A and a B discussion. One discussion would be, do we want to give rise to $80 million that's guaranteed through the state of New Mexico to give it to the private company that we may select to go to PRC to ask for the same amount of money that they need to fix the infrastructure. So I think that we need to understand that it's more than just we're gonna turn this over to our private company, whoever it is. We need to make sure that's what we wanna do. I don't care how people feel about the city council. I'm one council person, and I am always opposed to reports given to us by the city government staff about water. And I think Dr. Wilson has made a very valid discussion to our community. And then I think that the city staff didn't follow it, then we had never been told that. And all of a sudden now everybody is expert on what Dr. Wilson has said. That's why I want Dr. Wilson.
I see some of what Mike was saying, as far as, telling us that we need to reduce to 700 million gallons, and we didn't meet that mark. But that's a numbers thing there. We didn't meet the mark. We went from 7 to 9. Is that correct, Mike?
Yep.
So
We didn't go from 7 to 9. We stayed at 9.
Oh, okay.
And those were recommendations by Dr. Wilson, and I didn't make them up. That's what I read from Dr. Wilson.
Right. Now, and the last thing can some of this be solved with a lease instead of a sale? In other words, can we work with an outside company, not necessarily say an EPCOR, with a lease that, that we can have some control over versus a sale where we just give it all away?
I can tell you right now, that court's not gonna, if it's not 100%, they're not gonna.
Well, and like Mr. Robinson said, and I don't know how far this has to go, if it does have to go out to be, to entertain other companies to put in a bid.
It will,
It will. So at that.
if the
rate,
decision
maybe-
is to privatize.
If the decision to go private, we would have to put a RFP out, and the best company win the RFP.
Right, and that's where you might have some negotiating room if we done a lease versus, and I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if we have to give it all away. I mean, right now, EPCOR might say, no way, I want it lock, stock, and barrel, but somebody else may be able to say, I can give you the same thing in a lease to where you're not tied up. Now, that lease might be a 100-year lease, hell, I don't know, but it's just another thing to look at.
Right, you got a good point, but the point is that we need to, I think, and this is Oscar saying this, and I'm being quoted. I run on the fact that the city water department has done an excellent job of what they're doing, what they have.
Amen.
And I think that the citizens, I turn on my faucet and I get water in the morning. And then I take a shower and I can cook. And we're sure we don't have the luxury of water, green lawn, but we live in a desert. And that's the bottom line. We live in a desert and we need to adopt a desert mentality, living mentality. We are being the city water rates of water discussion has been criticized because I don't have a green lawn. And you can quote me on that. I think that green lawn is a thing in the past. It's a dinosaur. And so I think we need to look at the issue on both sides to see if we really need water to continue to have beautiful green lawns, or do we need water for living? And that's my debate.
Well, if I can have the floor, I 100% agree with you on that. And even Preston and I have disagreed on the green lawn factor. I'm very much more for our daily needs than the priority of green lawns. But this it's a little bit more serious than that. Our circumstances and our lack of water and the trend of where we are heading is much more serious than that. And I totally think this water department that we have is awesome. These guys have gone above and beyond the call of duty for keeping this system going. And that they are definitely not the issue here. The resources they have been given to work with is one of the issues. And the decisions as a city that we have made over quite a while are the other issue, in my opinion. And you're welcome to write newspaper articles as well.
No, I'm not
So,
interested in
well-
campaigning on the newspaper.
I'm not campaigning.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes,
Well, first and foremost, I'd just like to thank the Public Works Committee for acknowledging the great work that the Water Department is doing. Based on their efforts and the work that they've done, really, the tanks have held at a better level than the stage 2 modified. But that wasn't council's decision. Now, I think council's decision to maintain conservation was a wise decision. As far as our water rates, according to the study done by the New Mexico Municipal League, we're in the bottom 10% of municipal water systems our size or roughly our size as far as the cost. And I do believe I sent that out to everyone, but I can again if you'd like. Also, speaking on the survey, that survey was just a very rough question to get a general idea. As we gather all this information, I do think it'd be wise for us to go back out with the information of, okay, this is what EPCOR thinks would be best. What's your opinion at this time? Knowing that EPCOR can do this, the city can do this, as far as getting real-time accurate data. The problem with those surveys, it asks if they live inside the city limits or not. If they're on city water or not, there's no way for me to verify their actual address if they are an actual customer. The certified election is the only way to get down to that brass tacks of, are they eligible to make this decision? Or is it somebody interjecting their opinion on our water system? And I hope that clarifies the survey.
And I wasn't beating up the survey.
No.
It was a good way to check the temperature real quick.
Yes.
But yeah, we do need to go, if we're gonna do something. Yeah, and I agree with you. We do, I agree with Mike too. We've got counselors in wards to carry the voice of the people forward. Now, these people should also, and they don't, and that's unfortunate, but people should also be talking to their counselors and telling their counselors, I'm pointing at Preston over here, he's mine. And talking with them about issues that involve them, not just water. And this is how the people's voice gets to the dais for the counselors to be able to make a decision. But I also agree with, getting out on an issue like this, really getting out there and finding out what the people, how the people truly feel, that way it takes any ambiguity away from it.
and in defense of, there's one of the beautiful things of our country, we have freedom of speech. And we have freedom of the press. You can do anything you want, as long as it's within reason and not defaming somebody. For example, in my action research, I've designed a T-shirt, and any one of you guys are welcome to wear it. I know you won't, but anyway, it's gonna have it's my T-shirt, and if you don't like it, don't buy it. But it says, really privatize water? What's at stake? That's the question I put forward to you, all of you people. Really privatize water? What's at stake? I have a T-shirt like that, and you can get one down at TDT to support local economic development and buy a T-shirt for $20, and she will love it. So I'm gonna walk around a moving target saying, really privatizing water? What's at stake? And until someone can tell me that privatization is the best issue for this community, then so be it. But right now, I say, what's at stake? And I will have my T-shirt. I was intending to wear it today, but my bus driver wouldn't let, supervisor wouldn't let me wear it on the bus.
Did you have something, Mr. Davis?
Would like to ask a question or two, just to make sure I'm clear. My understanding is the reason that Clovis is in a better position on their water is because a private company can go to the agriculture community and buy water directly from them.
That's,
Is that a true statement?
that is partially true. They don't have to undergo the same state regulations when drilling wells. It's like EPCOR hadn't drilled a well and
I'm not talking about
A
drilling
decade.
wells. I'm talking about they're going and buying water from existing wells off of agriculture in the agricultural community. So
I don't know that EPCOR themselves is doing that. EPCOR buys, yeah, wet water rights and spiders agricultural wells together, as opposed to what we do going out and drilling a new well in the well. They take existing known good water.
I understand that they're buying water, not buying water rights.
I believe it's a lease.
Hmm?
I believe it's through
It is true, right?
Yes, they,
Yeah.
Wet water
So-
rights.
Why can the city not go out and buy water from a farmer or a rancher out of that well? Because of legislation. Have we done anything to try to change legislation to give us the ability to go buy that water from the agricultural community without drilling wells or buying water rights? I mean, it's just an open question. I'm not asking you to answer.
I'm not on the council.
I know
I'm not
Orlando,
saying you are. I'm
Yeah.
just asking a general question. Have we done anything to check to see what we can change about legislature to give us the ability to do the same thing that a private company could do to increase our ability to supply water to our citizens?
and TJ, can you
No,
expand
no.
on that one? Because did we get funding from the Water Trust Board to just do that?
Not to purchase water rights from
Not to purchase
agricultural,
from
but to
agricultural
improve water systems.
System.
Yes,
So that portion of the trust that we received was to give us the opportunity to explore how we can buy water.
not to buy water, but
Not to
to
buy water.
improve, and Ashley and Chris can
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. It's only to make well field improvements.
Well field improvement and tanks.
Yep.
So we can't, to answer that, see, we don't have the monies to do it.
Well,
You're
and I think Mr. Davis is 100% correct that there's legislation out there, statute that doesn't allow us to take ag water and put it into municipal water systems.
Okay.
And that's what I'm asking if we can't pursue. Because if it's good enough water for a private company to put in our system, it's good enough water for us to put in our system. We just need to go through the legislature to get something changed. They can also go through the legislature to get the funding to buy that water.
Mhm.
I would agree. The other thing I would like to say is we need to be promoting rainwater harvesting.
Agreed.
Our average, according to the report we saw the other day, our average is 144 gallons a day per household, right?
Right.
That's 52 some odd thousand gallons per year. A 3,000 square foot roof with 12 inches of rain a year can harvest 22,000 gallons. It's almost 50% of our usage.
And Steve,
That's a huge amount.
Steve, at the municipal league meeting other day, I sit in on a stormwater discussion. There is effort by the state and there also effort by the will be effort on recovering stormwater and those kinds of waters only that's coming up in this 60-day section. So we probably should be watching that.
Yeah, and I'm talking, trying to promote private citizens to harvest that water off their own roof.
Yeah.
In some kind of incentive.
But that's what this
Because-
legislation is going to promote.
With 22,000 gallons of water, they can have a green lawn if they want it. I'm
Yeah, I
not
know.
saying the green lawn is a priority. That's not what I'm saying. But with filtration, they can also provide their own house water, a
Mhm.
certain percentage of it.
Well, you know, I've been trying to buy tanks.
Mr. Davidson.
Currently, the state encourages private citizens to harvest their own rainwater. They have the blessing. They prohibit municipalities from harvesting stormwater and drainage. However, the Interstate Stream Commission, but they can make an exception if there are no rivers or streams or lakes, which we fall into that category here. So we could get a waiver to design a system and harvest our own for irrigation purposes.
And I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
What I'm primarily focusing on right now, private citizens could take care of a major portion of their own water use if they would harvest their own water off their own roof.
Absolutely.
So with some education and some promotion and maybe sometimes in the city, I don't know, Albuquerque pays their citizens a certain amount of money for a certain size tank
Mhm.
that they have to hold their own water to help them offset the price of the tank. It's not nearly enough, I can tell you that, but at least it would help.
Yeah. One thing that we can do as far as the rate structure is take our minimum down to a lot lower amount to where that tank would offset that usage to where if they go above that new minimum, to that next 1,000 gallons, that's when that extra rate kicks in.
Sure.
Would encourage and give them the benefit of collecting their own rainwater.
Now,
And the other, wait, please. Can I continue?
I didn't know I thought you was through.
No, sir, not that way.
Okay,
But if you have a comment about what we're talking about now, I would be glad to hear.
I'm talking about the water rates. When you go back to the water rates,
Okay, let's continue the other, and then we can go back to
Okay.
rates, okay? The other thing I heard the other day was, we're only using, was it 4%
Yes.
of our treated water?
Yes.
Out of the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes. Which is already, I mean, I don't understand exactly why we can't. Maybe it's funding to get the system put together to use it, but anyway. We're not using nearly the amount of that wastewater, reused water that we could be. The other side of that, I've heard in these discussions that our plant could not process enough wastewater to handle a daily use as far as water and some things. Is that true?
The amount that it's capable of?
They weren't capable of producing enough water per day to take care of a lot of our uses.
We can produce enough water, the bottlenecks, we can't pump. Our wet well, we pump out our wet well, too fast for it to recharge back up.
Okay.
Well, it's got the
So
capability.
that usage could be increased if we had the ability to put it on city parks. Let's say we do have the water daily that we would require to do that.
Yes, but it'll produce enough, we just can't. With the way the wet well and the filters were built,
Mhm.
we drain our wet well out.
Okay.
Before they can fill back up.
And in my limited time as interim, one of the things that I've identified is as far as the not being able to use that reclaimed water is due to the permitting issue of how it was originally permitted for agriculture.
Mhm.
That narrows the specifications to a point. It makes it very difficult for the wastewater treatment staff to keep it within that specification. When we could broaden that to a different permit to where we could recapture more of that and utilize it more. And I believe the water department staff is working on that.
If I may comment on that, so it's under a class 1A permit right now. Regardless of if we modify that or not, a class 1B permit would require us to, be 20, or what is it, 100 feet? From any residential. So it wouldn't even work in our favor to remodify that. So they're looking into, by them, CDM Smith kind of, they're the ones dealing with our permit. And talking with the state, they're gonna try to look at different ways and they're working on that right now. Look at different filtrations and, upgrades and stuff that we can do there at the plant to, meet that 1A.
Right.
But until then, I know, when EPCOR came down, they had a team go out there and they gave us a lot of good information. We're still looking for some more feedback and some key points to go and, maybe input those or, just change the way we run that plant to make it work for that permit, so.
Okay.
Mr. Mendoza, on that, can I ask, when was the last time the softball complex was watered? That would be a Steve question, so I'm not sure.
I'll text him and find out and let you know.
It's been over a month. We had somebody donate funding in order to get that done. And it's still not being done.
Can we back up?
What- Go ahead, Steve.
I'm looking. Quite get finished.
Okay, are you still, Steve?
He's still going.
You still going? Well,
The water we get from you, who's doing the treatment on that water?
That'll be all the utility.
All us?
You,
It'll
You water.
be water,
It would all be, it would be done before we get it.
all the way up until injection. We won't have any control over anything.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious where the treatment is happening before it comes into our system.
I believe it happens right on top of the cap rock before it gets put into the pipeline
I wanna
to
say
the
that there's
municipalities.
Multiple,
Are there multiple?
yeah.
Now, I was gonna say, I think they're gonna build a plant or something right north of Columbus in that area.
is it gonna be, it's, you know, it's supposed to be north of Clovis. They're the big, whether or not they're gonna let water from the farm water go into that pipe, and I think that's been rejected. They're not gonna let any water go into their pipe.
Well, my position on this entire water issue is we need to be looking at every possible option we can to bring water into our fertile system. Just like they're doing in Columbus, whether it's private or whether it's city. We need that option, and I think the legislature is the only way we're gonna have that option as far as buying water from the agriculture, so I think we need to pursue that. It's well known, and I'm not here to argue with anyone, yeah, this is my opinion. Once we let go of the control of our water system, we will never get it back. We need to be very, very cautious and careful before that happens. And if there's any way we can do this through conservation, through rainwater harvesting, through other options to bring more water into our system, I think that's what we should do.
On that line, Steve,
No, he's good.
would you, Steve, would you,
Yeah, we had another question.
No, he's all right.
no,
He's all right.
I think I had said on your line, will you get involved with the state of New Mexico? They're coming up with legislation this year to answer several of the questions that you just presented.
Right.
And there is an effort by the federal government, the EPA, to come in and do make sure that our water things or discussions are based on New Mexico standards rather than outside standards or back east standards. So the legislation of the state, the leaders in the state and at the state level are concerned about issues like we having down here, drought issues, and how we manage our water. So there is gonna be several big debates going on the state level in this 60-day session. So I would advise everybody to, you know, get involved with it and keep up with it. And probably when they ask for comments, put your comments in, because they're gonna be seeking those comments, especially like the kind of comments you make, Mr. Davidson. They're gonna be welcome those kind of statements.
And we can always reach out to our local New Mexico Municipal League board member that was elected at large too.
Who was that?
I don't know, some guy.
You know, water rates. I'd like to go back to water rates. How do you separate our price of water compared to Clovis price of water?
Clovis isn't reported on that because it's not a public system, so I don't have that information.
Okay,
You don't have Clovis's?
No.
It's
Not,
on
not
the,
in the one that the municipal league sent out, no, sir.
it's on the PRC website. You can go look it
you
up.
gotta look it up.
And our rates are higher than that.
And our water rates higher or our water bill higher?
Strictly water, water for water, no garbage,
No garbage.
no treatment plants, anything else, just water to water.
Can we amend the way we say water bill to utilities bill?
Utility
Your
bill,
utility
that's what
bill.
it needs to be.
That's what it need to be, because that's where a lot of concern is that is it a utility bill or is it water rate? So we probably should
Water
look at
bill to utilities bill, so.
what, maybe you should look into that, Chris.
Look into what,
Make a
Oscar?
recommendation about making a utility bill.
It is a utility bill.
It is.
We're just saying it wrong.
We're saying it wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to say utility bill, not water bill. Okay, thank you. Okay. Any more debates?
Well, I've got an idea, Oscar.
Yes, sir.
You know, I was looking at our council agenda meeting for this evening, and there's a lot of things that I think our citizens would like to vote on. So what if we just have a bi-weekly election so that they can vote on everything that we're doing in our council meetings first?
Go ahead.
Because, I mean, us 8 guys are making the decisions for our citizens. Why do we have the right to do that when we could just hold an election and have everybody vote on stuff?
I don't know if this is the body to discuss, make that discussion.
No, I'm just asking. You made that discussion earlier on saying that we should have an election on this water issue. Why don't we just do it for everything?
Well, if somebody want to champion that cause, I guess they can ask that question.
But would we?
I feel like I'm basing this on water only. I'm basing this on the discussion of privatization of water only. And I'm not basing this on whether or not we should dig ditches over in Texas. I'm basing it on the issue that is above the citizen at this time. And it's my opinion. I'm obviously gonna be overruled, but I'm gonna voice that opinion. So then.
Well, I'm just asking. I mean,
Well, that's my opinion. I think it should be brought for the public.
so we should do everything for the public or
I
just
didn't say
water?
that. I said this issue should be.
Why is it different than the $20 million that we're spending?
I think it's the biggest issue in town right now.
I agree with you. And so we
Well,
got a grant.
Are you arguing against me? or
No, I'm
my
asking.
opinion?
I'm not arguing. I'm
I
asking you a
just gave
question.
My opinion.
Okay, and I'm just asking you a question. I'm just asking the question,
I
Oscar.
just answered
I'm
your
new to
question.
this. I'm new to this world.
I just answer your question. It's my opinion. I think it should be taken to the public.
I wish we could have taken to the public that wastewater treatment plant. That would have been an important one to take to the public.
Well, unfortunately, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Can I ask on rates real quick? Do we know our per 1,000 gallons for consumption for residential?
There over 2,000, it's 1801.
Say that again?
1801. From 0 to 2,000.
1801. What is it? I don't know what that means. And I don't know if that's correct.
It is correct.
It is per thousand, per thousand,
Okay,
per 2,000.
okay. So for Clovis's rates then, if that's the case, for consumption up to 4,500 gallons, it's 3.9 cents per 1,000 gallons. So if we're at 18 cents, we got an issue.
We didn't say 18.
$18
Okay.
for 2,000 gallons.
Okay, and I'm saying theirs is $3 a gallon. So there's no way that we are
$3 a
600%,
gallon
3.9 per 1,000 gallons.
per thousand. Okay.
And we're at 18, we're not the lowest, if that's the case. And
Well, and again, the study that was presented to me was just for public water systems. I didn't have any of the private information.
no, I know. I'm just responding to Oscar's. Can we get it? We got it. And if we're at $18 a gallon per 1,000, they're at $3 per
There-
No,
1,000.
it's not
There.
2,000.
Divide that in half.
No.
0 and 2,000.
Divide it in
And
half.
then after the.
Okay, so it's 9,000 or it's $9 per gallon.
$9.
They're
Hey,
still
but-
at 3. So just for some information there. And we're gonna try and go up 50% every year for the next 3 years.
50%. As if we're going the route that we are with the community and not raising our rates. It could potentially be up to 50% if we stay where we're doing right now. But if we keep doing what we're doing.
Explain that for me real quick.
I'm trying to. Okay, so doing the rate study with Waterworth,
Mhm.
we are trying to figure out the best way to prevent that 50%. But if we're going the rate that we are right now and not doing anything, yes, there is gonna be that 50%.
No, that's not true because you don't have any capital outlay. The added 50% is because of our engineering study that was done on the capital improvements that we need. So our decision to move forward with capital improvements on the projects that we're doing, that's what's leading to the 50%. If we don't do anything, your rates don't go up because your costs aren't increasing.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If we're not doing anything.
Okay, I think you said it backwards. If we don't do anything,
Well, I mean, going the rate that we are right now. What our debt is and everything that we have going on right now, and we don't implement a rate increase. To where it needs to be, being 15 to 20% is where we're trying to be at right now. As long as we are implementing applications and loans and obtaining grants to be able to fund all of our projects.
If I could interject, I think that included at 20 years spending $250 million, which also included drilling 79 new wells.
But we
which-
know that that's not gonna. be
Exactly. So I really, yeah, it's just, they're just throwing numbers out there.
But I would like to say this about that, if we don't do something with an outside business and we don't increase our rates, we're really in trouble. We're gonna have to increase our rates in order to maintain what we have in the field,
Mhm.
not to mention buying new valves or buying something extra. I mean, just to maintain. We can't maintain where we're at, yeah.
Base salaries
We're
of
just,
the-
we're
Basically
spinning our
that.
wheels.
Basically, that 50% was just a conversation that we had with Waterworth.
Mhm.
It was just a conversation.
The conversation-
I mean, it was presented to the Public Works, so it's more than a conversation if they're presenting it to us. It's, again, it's just study, so it's. I mean, we have another meeting set up with them here soon, so we'll get some more information gathered. We'll try to crunch down on the numbers and get the most accurate number we can get, so we can present, or we can even ask them to come and present again. I mean, they're doing the rate study anyway, so I think it'd be beneficial for, you know, not just me and Ashley to try to present this to you guys or the public, but them to come in and explain it better than we can, so. So Wilson and Company's doing rate study as well? Wilson and Company's just doing a
Water.
distribution study. Was that not oh, that was the
That was
Waterworth that presented that,
Waterworth.
okay.
Waterworth is doing the rates.
And also the comment about the wastewater treatment plant should have been taken to the public. It was discussed to the public that in order to keep economic development in the community, we had to upgrade, and there was public hearing on the upgrade of the us going into the Cadillac, I call it a Cadillac system, because at that time, we had big supply with industrial suppliers. We had, what was the company that moved?
Avangard,
Avangard and
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, and they pulled out on us after the fact. So it was public hearing, and there was discussion made to the public about us going into that plant. We just didn't arbitrarily do it.
I said in one of them,
Yeah.
them meetings, but at the end of the day, regardless what, and I ain't attacking you, regardless what the public said.
It was the best thing for the.
I mean, I mean, if everybody in that room that day disagreed like with the price increase, it didn't matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, the council moved forward with their decision.
Whether the council moved forward because it was determined that in order to keep those two industries in, the three industry in the community at that time for economic development, it was the best thing for the city. And they just didn't say, we just gonna do it.
Right.
It was based
My
on.
particular
on the
comment,
city.
my particular comment that day in that room was when we start losing water, they're the first to pull out.
Right, I remember that.
They're the first to pull out and they pulled out. And left us high and dry with the
With the bill.
Absolutely.
And you know, we can't make excuses for that bill because it was made on that promise that they would be here. But anyway, it was, they didn't meet their obligation. They got out just like all private companies. But anyway, that's another issue. I like these kind of fights. I like discussions like this. When we walk out of this room, we're still gonna argue about nothing. Who Dallas Cowboys the best football team in football. So
Really?
that's how.
I'm with
We agree on something?
I'm with
Yeah,
you. I'm with
yeah,
you.
we agree on that.
I'm with
Can
you.
can I make a comment?
About Dallas?
No, well, I mean,
Careful now. I know your father-in-law.
You know, we're, as water utilities operator, my job, is what they teach us all the time, is that we provide water, fresh, clean drinking water, potable water at adequate pressure to meet the needs of the community. You know, this Public Works Committee, you know, we have debates, we have all these things that are here, but I feel like the past is past, we can't change the past. We're here now, let's move forward, let's put one foot in front of the other and let's make a decision instead of. I mean, we can't, it can't be Preston's idea or his individual opinion that matters. It's a holistic viewpoint. We're all here trying to make it better for the people that are in this town, this community. So I feel we just need to make those decisions a little bit better and have some more transparency
Because, I mean, yes, the debates are there. And I appreciate the debates because, you know, everybody has an opinion and a right to that opinion. As staff, you know, I'm here, I'm trying to take in everything that I can take in and still go out there and maintain the water system, maintain the sewer system. You know, and we're just bottlenecked at different spots that we're trying to learn, you know, we're all new in this role. You said you're new in this role. I got thrown into a situation where, you know, we had a double floor walk out the door. And, you know, that's a
I
high.
like your point.
I'm a level 2 water operator. I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can in a little time frame. Yes, we have very, very big situations that are in front of us that we face. And if we can't make strides here, then, you know, it's kind of pointless to have these committee meetings. If that's my opinion, that's if you ask me.
Steve made a very good recommendation. I think that, I don't know if it make any sense to Chris or Ashley and you and Kathy. If I heard him say something about getting more private people involved in water saving, harvesting. Is that something we can look into to see and then make a recommendation that, because I think that's a good idea, tanking your water. If we can save that much water, maybe that ought to be something that can come out of this discussion is see if we can come up with a look at feasibility of that and see if it's doable, and if so, then let's see if we can market that to the community. I like that idea.
Up to 50% of our current usage.
Yeah, if we can come away with that, that would be great. If you can figure out if the staff can give us something on that.
I think our next move, you know, is public education. I mean, I don't know if we can reach out to one of the conversations I had with you know, some of the team members from EPCOR, you know, public education, reach out to somebody, not even just them, but Wilson Company. You know, just to reach out to, we have a university here. I don't know. I know I talked to TJ a little bit about, you know, presenting that to them or somebody in the geology classroom or, you know, something that we can get, because we're a small trade. You know, there's not very many operators in state of New Mexico or anywhere for that matter. So yes, it's easy to get somebody to come in and, you know, we talk about these things, but education is, you know, education is power and knowledge is power. So I feel the more that we can learn about things that we're here, and I mean, more brains you put together, the better, right? So
I think it's important for all of us to remember, right? We're on the same team.
Yeah.
And we're all headed and wanting the same solutions, is water security. That's all it boils down to. And it's like Chris, I rarely see him smile. I catch him grinning every once in a while, but if you mention the word water, he goes serious on you. I know he takes it seriously. I know he's constantly trying to improve his education on that. And same with Eric, and it's much appreciated. It's like, we do know that we have good people in the water department. We have some big problems outside of the water department in our water structure. But these things can be solved.
Chris, if you could lead a discussion or bring back a proposal and take it to your boss, something that could present that we can market to the public about saving and harvesting their rainwater. I try to through Mr. Davis, we try to buy some tanks. And every time I drive down the highway, I look for, I found 2 more tanks we can look at. So I mean, if you can come up with some ideas and so we can present to the public a real program, harvesting your water. And because I think that would help.
Honestly, I think NMED website, it actually has some webinars and some good information that we can pull from.
Okay.
You have some information on the City of Portales website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would suggest some hands-on workshops,
Yeah.
you know, and Zoom them, if you will, or
Right.
live or whatever. But some hands-on stuff where people can come in and ask questions. And see stuff, see diagrams, what have you. And what you were saying about the university, leaning on them and finding some people over there, I think that would be a good direction to.
The reason why I bring up, university is, you get those people that they need
Experts.
hours to show that they've done some work in their field, so.
Yeah.
It's a good study for them to jump on if that was the case.
University has utilized some rainwater capture
Mhm.
within their own parameters.
Okay. Any more discussion on this issue? Now let's move to the next item. Which will be other business not known before, which could be brought to this meeting. Anything else need to bring to the floor?
No, and you skipped item B.
Uh,
That's just to come up with the next meeting.
That's okay, I didn't see, I'm not glasses, yeah, additional discussion on meeting every 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Okay, Oscar,
Yes,
the water advisory meeting was moved to Tuesday at 9 because Monday, September 2nd is a holiday. Do you want to have an afternoon meeting for Public Works, or do you want to move to do you want to shift to Wednesday and do it at 9 AM?
what's the pleasure of these guys?
I'm good with either one.
What about you, Steve?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter,
Okay, what time, do you have to be back for the bus?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock? Do you want to do a 1 o'clock on the 3rd of September?
12:30.
12:30?
This meeting will. No, 1 o'clock is good,
1 o'clock?
yeah.
Okay, so water advisory will be at 9, and then 1 o'clock will be Public Works, and we'll be back to a normal after that
Okay.
holiday.
So water advisory. And maybe, can we have on the agenda the water advisory report? Steve?
I'm sorry.
No. Mike.
Sure.
Okay. And there was one other item that we'd like to add to that agenda, if it's possible, is Ms. Davis made a recommendation, I think it was the last meeting, that there are several contractors in town that like to, would love to help the city with certain projects as parts or whatever. And I was wondering if it's proper for the Public Works Department committee to ask for some type of formal plan where they can fill out a form and that will protect them donating their time or IRS or whatever. And that's something, some kind of formal procedure we can use that can be used, or is one already in place.
So the attorney did give his direction that that is a possibility. It's something that we can do. We just have to modify our current waiver of liability. And then I think the best way to move forward would be the Public Works staff present to the Public Works Committee a list of 5 projects, 10 projects that we think would fit that role. And then that would allow contractors to pick and choose. If they wanted to do one, then they can connect with staff and work through that process.
And do it have to be approved by the council?
It should not have to be. The donation would have to after the work is completed, but not the prior action.
Okay, so will you set that up? I mean, can that be set up so that we can vote on that? Cause I like your idea and we can just try to formalize it, so your guys are protected.
And we may try to include some of our code enforcement issues that need to be addressed as well. So we'll pull in Kelly McClellan.
Should that be planning and zoning? That would cover that?
Well, what I may have instruct her to do is to take it through planning and zoning, and then it come to here for that overall, however many, 5 to 10 projects.
Another thing that we need her to look into is the ordinance, I guess, for the mowing of yards and how that's handled, because that's outrageous.
Yeah. Let's let her get through her animal control ordinance and then we
Yeah.
can work on that, sir.
Okay.
Okay. So the meeting's gonna be, and it's 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock on September 3rd, I'll send a calendar item and a Zoom link.
September 3rd. Okay. And then in addition, did I look over anything on that?
No, sir.
Okay. Other business, any matter not known about or which could have been reasonably foreseen prior to this time of posting on the agenda can be brought to the table at this time. Hearing none, we'll call for an adjournment.
So moved.